Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Alicia Darlene. I make tons of YouTube videos just all about baby, mama, just new tips and tricks. I'm a new mom myself. I have a beautiful baby girl. Her name is Avea and she is 9 months. And I just like to make YouTube videos just about all the stuff that I've learned along the way, just about like breastfeeding. This video specifically is going to be about solid foods, when to start giving your baby solid foods, what type, and how to do it properly. So I am super stoked that you're here. If you can, like and subscribe to my channel so I can keep making more videos for you guys. I also do some videos just about how I'm able to stay home. I don't have to go back to my job. I'm able to stay home and make a full income from home. So if you want to learn more about that, that'll be in the first link in the description below. But let's get into the meat of this video about when to start your baby on solid foods. Because up until now, your baby has just had either breast milk or formula. So it can be a little bit confusing on when to necessarily start your baby on the baby's first foods, what exactly to give, what you need. So I'm going to be talking about all of that stuff. If this video is going to be beneficial for you, please like it. And you can also hit that notification bell so you get updates on when I come out with new videos. Just because I try to come out with them every single week, but I do have a 9-month baby and sometimes it's a little bit hard. So with that notification bell on, you'll get an update on when my videos come out. Okay, so let's start on the when. So when you want to start your baby on solid foods is going to be anywhere from 4 to 6 months, as long as they are having enough signs that they are ready. So we're going to go over those signs right now. So one of the signs that they are ready to start eating is that they are assisted sitting. Yes, they may lean to one side more and kind of slouch a little bit. That's just part of the assisted part of sitting. And they may need some help with positioning, stuff like that. But as long as they're able to hold their head upright, they're curious about what you're eating. They're kind of seeing what you're eating and what you're doing. They may not seem full after feeding, and they have at least doubled their birth weight, or they weigh at least 13 pounds. Along with the age requirement, 4 to 6 months. So when you start giving them food, just make sure that they are able to go from the food from the front of their mouth all the way to the back, that they're not just spitting it out. Also, just remember, like I said, they've only had breast milk or formula up until this point. So if they seem uninterested, grossed out, they don't want to try it, that's completely normal because it is completely different to them. And just to keep trying, up until, like I said, this point that they've only had the milk, but up until they're 1 year old, food is pretty much just like a learning experience and just for fun. They're not necessarily getting all their nutrients from the food that we're giving them at this point. They're still getting all their nutrients that they need from either breast milk or formula. So you don't necessarily have to feel pressured to make sure that they eat. Food is just for fun until they're about 1 year old. Okay, so I hope that kind of helps with the stages of if they're ready to start eating solid foods. Now we're gonna go into what to feed them. So you really want to make sure that you're either having breast milk or formula plus the food. You never want to take away the breast milk or formula. So you want to make sure that you're giving them pureed vegetables, pureed fruit, pureed meat, very liquidy baby cereal, or small amounts of plain unsweetened yogurt. Okay, so for us, what we started with, I gave Avea some, as you can see, oats and quinoa baby cereal. So I added 1 tablespoon of this in her bowl, and I would add breast milk to it, make it super liquidy, and then give her that and see how she did with it. And then you can also, like I said, you can do the pureed fruits or vegetables. This one is just another form of that. Like the stage 1 is what you want to look for when you're first introducing. So this is stage 1. It's just one thing. This one is just mango. So you want to stick to those baby foods that are just one ingredient instead of a bunch of them at first. So for the pureed fruits, like I said, this one is mango, but you can do bananas, you can do strawberries, pears, apples. They have a bunch of them. You can also make them yourself. I'll go into that a little bit more. And then you can also do like the pureed vegetables. We do sweet potatoes, green beans, peas, kale, broccoli, anything like that you want to give your baby. Just make sure that they're super pureed and really liquidy right now. And with the cereal, just make sure that it is iron fortified cereal, just because they are getting the iron from your breast milk or formula, but up until about 6 months is when you need to start giving them some more iron. So that can be either the meat, or you can just make sure that your baby cereal is iron fortified. Okay, so when you're first starting out, I know it can be kind of confusing how much you should give your baby. So if you're gonna be doing the baby cereal, something like this where it is powdery and you just add the liquid, you wanna start with about 1 teaspoon of the cereal, and then you wanna mix in about 4 to 5 teaspoons of milk or water, not cow's milk. You can't give baby cow's milk until they're 1 year old. So just make sure that it's breast milk, formula, or water. And if you're gonna be giving it warm, just make sure that the breast milk is already warmed up in like your bottle warmer, something like that, not the microwave, but you can offer it cold as well. And then you want to increase 1 tablespoon of the food, either the cereal or pureed food, twice a day. But like when you're starting out, just make sure that it is pureed food only, or really, really liquidy for at least, I think I did that for like the first 2 weeks just to see how she would like it. I wanted to make sure that she, knew how to eat it, how to go to the back of her throat and swallow it instead of just pushing it out, before I moved up to like the more like chunkier textures. So if your baby won't eat what you offer, that's completely normal. Just try again in the next few days. Some doctors recommend that you introduce food just one at a time and then wait a couple of days before you introduce another new food. That's just to help with like food allergies or sensitivities if your baby has any of those, especially if you have a family history of food allergies. You really want to be careful with that kind of things. That's something you could talk to your pediatrician about, but it just makes it easier to see if your baby has an allergy or a food sensitivity. I remember when we gave Avea a certain brand of rice cereal, she would be in kind of like, she'd have like a stomach ache for a little while. Like about an hour after we would give her that, or she was crying for like the hour after that for that brand. We just knew that maybe she had a sensitivity to that brand. So yeah, we were able to pinpoint exactly what it was that was bothering her stomach, because we weren't introducing a whole lot of new foods all at one time. We were spacing them out, so it was a lot easier to find exactly what was kind of upsetting her stomach. So I just suggest kind of waiting a little bit just before you introduce all these foods at one time. So if your baby is breastfed, they suggest that you start with pureed meats like chicken, beef, or turkey, just to help with those iron storages depleting at 6 months, which I kind of went over. So start with the pureed meats or the fortified cereal before you start with any veggie or fruit. Okay, so how do I introduce solid foods to my baby? There's no right or wrong way to do this. The simplest and easiest way is just to start giving baby some very, very liquidy baby cereal, or you can do like the pureed, just like the one ingredient like we talked about. But that's pretty much just like the easiest way that you can start introducing foods to your baby. So you can start out just by giving them 1 meal a day, and then gradually increase to 2 meals and then 3 meals. So then every single time that you sit down and have your food, you'll also sit down baby so they can enjoy food with you. Just remember that when you first are starting to introduce foods, that your baby is not too tired, cranky, or hungry, so it's an enjoyable experience for them as well. So just a few things that you want to remember. One thing is you want to encourage adventurous eating, so you want to make sure that you give them a variety of a whole bunch of different foods. If you don't like something specific, like I necessarily don't like cantaloupe, doesn't mean I would not give Avea that. You want to make sure that you give them plenty of options, even if it's something that you personally don't like. Also, just remember to give new foods time. So if it's something that they don't necessarily like, you can try it again in a couple days, or maybe next week, and try it again. Just because they didn't show interest for the first time that you gave them doesn't mean that they necessarily don't like it. You just have to try it again. I remember we gave Avea some eggs, some scrambled eggs, and she was kind of grossed out by them and kind of like spitting them up, and she didn't want anything to do with it. She didn't even like to touch it, and we were kind of bummed because we eat eggs pretty much every morning. So we were like, okay, well, let's just let her do her thing. We won't give that to her for a couple days, and then we can try it again. So we tried it again the next week, same thing, she didn't like it. Okay, so we gave her another week without eggs. The third time was the charm for us because then she was able to eat eggs. She was self-feeding. She did really, really well with it. But if we would have just stopped right there and never gave her eggs again, who knows like when she would have liked it, when she would have tried it, if she liked it again, or if she was just not used to it. So we just have to give the baby time with new food. So now we're actually doing like, we scramble her eggs, but we leave it in like a big like omelet looking kind of thing. So then when it's like a big circle, then we kind of will slice it so it's like in strips of egg instead of just like a bunch of crumbles of it. So we give it to her like in a strip of egg and she's able to hold it in her hand. At first she was kind of just like flopping the egg back and forth, kind of just like looking at it. But now every morning she's doing really, really well with it. She'll kind of put it in her hand and she just eats the whole egg. This morning actually was the first day that she ate the entire egg, so she didn't have anything on the floor, anything on her, which was really awesome. So that means she did really well and she ate a whole egg. She is 9 months, so it did take a little bit for her to get that far. But yeah, so just to make sure to remember to give foods time. Another thing to remember is to stay away from choking hazards. Obviously, that's really, really important. So you just want to make sure that you stay away from anything really hard, like hot dogs, stay away from whole grapes, nuts, just anything like that they might have trouble swallowing. So for me, I would kind of, if it looked like it was something maybe too big of a piece or something too hard, I would try it first, put it in my mouth and not chew it with my teeth and just see if it would quickly dissolve if I was able to do it that way. I mean, you can kind of test it yourself. Just know how your baby is. I mean, when you're first starting out, of course, you never want to give anything too chunky. Right now, we're just talking about introducing solid foods. So you want to just make sure, like I said, that they're really liquidy. Right now, they're just pureed foods. But when you get into the more chunkier stuff, you just want to make sure that you never leave your baby unattended. You're always watching them just in case they are to choke on something. You're right there, and you just never want to leave your baby unattended, especially when they're trying new foods and learning how to chew. Okay, so another thing to remember is just to watch for constipation. Obviously, if you change diet, the baby's diet, their bowel movements are also going to change. So you just want to make sure that you know that that is okay if it's temporary. If they're having like dry, hard stools, they're having difficulty passing it, and it's been over a week, I would definitely call your doctor and mention it. But just know that some constipation is going to come when you are introducing your baby to solid foods. Of course, they've just had the milk, so I'm sure this is a little bit more difficult for your baby to put out as much bowel movements as they were having before with just the milk. So just remember that when you start to give your baby food. So if your baby is dealing with constipation, just remember to keep on giving the baby solid foods. You want to increase the foods with fiber just to help baby to be able to use the restroom and also pass gas. So you want to be able to give baby pears, prunes, apples, anything like that. The pureed, you can also do the juice. With us, when she would get constipated when we first started, I gave her like the prunes, the pureed prunes, just like the baby food pureed prunes, and that really helped her. I'd also give her a little bit of water, and that really helped. Just know that constipation is something that's normal as long as it's temporary. Okay, so what equipment do you need to start baby on solid foods? So first of all, you definitely need a high chair or a bumbo with a tray. You want to do some plastic spoons so they're nice on their gums. I know that they're probably teething around this time. It's pretty normal, so you want to give them something soft. Also, these are some baby bowls that we have just to kind of put the food in there. You can get the ones with the lids if you want to take it or save it for later. This is another one that we have. I got it so it has like a suction at the bottom, so when we put it on her high chair, she can't really like move it and spill it all over the place. These are okay. I would not really recommend them too well because yes, it will stick for a couple of minutes and she can kind of pick out of the bowl too, but then after a while she can kind of just pull on it and it will spill everywhere. So I wouldn't recommend it if it's going to be, expensive. These ones are obviously way cheaper, so I would say just stick with those. Get the baby spoons. Another thing is bibs. So when they start to get really messy, these bibs are awesome. These are just the silicone. So these are silicone bibs. They're really easy to clean. If she's dropping lots of food, we give her water, so if she drops a bunch of water, it's all going to be caught in here and it's really easy to clean. I think that's why it's so easy. Just just some of the other bibs, or like the cloth bibs, are good if they're drooling, but not necessarily good for food, so, or catching food. So this is one of the bibs that we really, really like. Also, if you're gonna be, you know, once they go past like the pureed foods and you're giving them more textures and more chunkier stuff, you can do these ones are like creamies, or you can do the yogurt milk is another brand. She does really, really well with both of them, and they dissolve in baby's milk, so you don't have to necessarily worry about. So let me just show you. This is what they look like. They're really, they're pretty small, and they melt in baby's mouth, so you can start giving them that. And this is just another thing that we like to give, is just like the little teething sticks. You can make them yourself, or you can get the ones that are already made, but it's pretty long. As you can see, it's like long enough for them to hold and them to kind of chew on it themselves, and it also dissolves in baby's mouth. So if you're also interested in making baby's food, you want to start making it from home, you can do anything that your guys are eating. Just throw it in the food processor or the blender. Like, for example, like I said, we give her eggs. For dinners, you know, we have, let's say, spaghetti we had the other night, so I would just kind of put it through the food processor a couple times just so it's a little bit more cut up. And she does really well with those kind of textures. But if you want to start giving her table food, you can do that too, just as long as it's completely pureed. So she does really well. And we give her, so like I said, spaghetti, beans, lentils. You can do blueberries, banana, avocados, anything like that. You can puree it, and then once they start to tolerate it really well, you can leave it a little bit more chunky than what you did at first. And then you can also put little pieces of it on her table, and then they can start picking at it and learning how to go from the table to their mouth. So she does that right now. So we cut up like avocado pieces, we'll cut blueberries in half or in fourths, and then we kind of put it on her tray. We also give her some beans, and I'll smash them up a little bit, just so it's kind of like the first bite is already done. They just have to work on getting it there. And then she can learn just how to eat it on her own. So now she's doing really well. I don't have to like feed her. I just give her the food in like her little tray or in one of the bowls, and she does really well. So I hope this video was beneficial for you. It's starting to give your baby solid foods. I also will leave a document in the description below. If you want to download that, I'll send it to your email. It's just gonna give you pretty much the foods that are age appropriate. So like it'll start with the 4 to 6 months, the ones that you want to start with, the ones kind of like we went over, and then it'll go to the next few months, like how you can keep adding like more textures to that, and just like the different fruits and vegetables and meat that they can eat by age. So I hope, like I said, this video is beneficial for you guys. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you next time. That bad? Do you like eggies?